Hello, everybody. I'm Russell Hill, and I'm the host of the WTF podcast, and that's what the fixed ops to all of you out there today. And I'm joined by.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charity, the co-host here today. And today we have Robert Migliaccio. Did I do that right, Mark?
Yay!
He's the service director at Myers Automotive. And Robert, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, glad to have you. I met you, it was year before last at the Golden Wrench Awards. It's when the first time I actually met you in person. And it's really funny because we're on so many different, whether it be Clubhouse or SDL or you name it, that Robert's just all over the place. And to have him on the show, we're humbled and honored and glad you're here. We have a bunch of questions for you. None of them you know about, so they're all going to be a surprise. But Cherry's done a lot of digging, and I'm going to let her start things off. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. Well, why don't you start with just telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and a little bit what you do in the automotive business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in my 25th year automotive. I started right out of high school, 17 years old, and got right into the automotive field working as a detailer and through an independent at the time, and just kind of worked my way up through the fixed ops world. So I did everything from parts delivery, parts wholesale, parts counter, parts retail, system parts manager. And from there, the BMW store I was working at, they decided to get me included on the service side. And that's where I got my service fix together. And it's kind of been history from there. I just kind of keep growing, looking for the next venture, and actively I sit and assist over our 5 stores here in the Stanton, Virginia location, primarily managing the Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Nissan store directly, and then help mentor and lead the other stores with the other managers we have here. So it's been a good career so far. I can't complain.
Yeah. How long have you been? And I want to talk. So Liza, phenomenal lady. But how many stores does Myers Automotive Group have?
So we currently, with our last pickup here, we just picked up a Toyota store. We're sitting at 24 stores now. We have an open point waiting to open, which will be a Honda store for us, and that'll put us at 25.
Good for you. What is unique, and how long have you been with Myers? What is so unique? I know, but I don't know how many people really know out there how unique and skilled that you guys are at what you do because of certain things that happen. But you guys are a phenomenal team. How I learned about you was through Glenn Lundy in the early days, during the pandemic. But yeah, how long have you been? And talk a little bit about what's unique with Myers.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been with, as of January 10th, I've been with Myers for 3 years. To make it very unique, actually, Glenn Lundy's a good focal point. Because of him, I know about the CMA Auto Group, and being on his platform got me connected with higher ups through CMA. And at a time where I wanted to kind of make a fairly decent life decision and change, my wife and I kind of talked, and I had an opportunity to come down here and join the team in the Stanton market. And pretty much it kind of grew from that. It was really interesting. But I guess the biggest thing for CMA in a whole, different from all other automotive groups, is I think we're one of maybe 5 total in the U.S., maybe even larger than that. I'm not sure how it is nationally outside of us, but we're an ESOP. So we're an employee stock ownership program. So as employees, we own 26% of the company, and we're given that just for working here. So we get fully vested after 7 years. And at that point in time, it's a full retirement plan that's provided to us through the company, with very good yields and returns from it. So can't really go wrong.
No, that is amazing. I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a big part of what kind of draws us. So, and again, we had a gentleman that worked for the company pretty much from I would say about 18 on, and most recently retired within the last year and a half. And we got to say that we retired a millionaire off of the program. So it works. It helps. It definitely sets up a extension of your life after the dealership and working force, which is a big part of what we look for. We look for that career path, and we look for longevity and goals with everybody to want to fulfill when they're done with working in the auto industry or in general.
Very unique.
Yes, sir.
That's very cool. Why do you care so much about the automotive business?
That's a good one. I love that question. For me, so few people know that I actually dropped out of high school. When I was in high school, actually, my sophomore year, just had some family issues and parents separated, and I realized at that time I wasn't really going to kind of progress into college. I was a smart kid, played sports, but just that kind of took a toll on me and put me in a position where I realized I'd probably just be better off going to work. And I finished out high school through our local college, graduated my sophomore year, and just went right into the automotive field. But the biggest part of what I like about it is, I don't have a large, MBA or PhD or anything like that. Just the work drive and determination to kind of do better and learn and grow every time I step foot in the store has taken my family, across different ventures. We've been able to purchase houses, purchase cars, purchase additional houses, rental properties, and really kind of grow just from the people around me that have taught us different things. But it's just been phenomenal for kind of what it's done for our family. And the biggest part of that I take granted, is the wife's been able to stay home. My wife, Veronica's been able to stay home with the 4 children the entire time. So since we started having kids and we're able to, she's been able to stay at home, raise the kids, and make sure we had a focal point there all the time, which was really nice. And I think
that's
the greatest takeaway from the whole venture.
Yeah. So I when I first got it, I started selling in 1985, and it's like it was just a stepping stone. Okay. And after 3 months, I had a wonderful mentor, as I'm sure you've had as well. I had a wonderful mentor, and he brought it all home to me in about 90 days. Because see, at 90 days, I knew. I already had it all down. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I flatlined, right after that. And so he pointed out some deficiencies in a very constructive way because he knew I was hungry and I wanted it. And instead of being on the fence, I decided that was it. And I've stayed in 16 years on that side, and then got into the vendor side. But it is a large automotive group. Is huge, but Robert, you and I and Cherry, it's small. It's really small. I mean, everybody's well connected now more than ever. But what a great life. What a testimony. You don't have to have a PhD. As a matter of fact, even if you did, you probably make more than people with PhDs. So anyway,
in some cases, I can tell you, a lot of dealer principals and GMs and stuff that I've met that laugh at some of the educated, I guess you could say, not to knock it, but it's a different road for everybody. And I think for a nuts and bolts kind of world, which is where I think the large majority of us fall into, we're on that hustle and grind kind of all the time. This is a great industry for that, because if you got it, you got the will, you got the drive, you'll set yourself apart. And it's been phenomenal. No doubt.
And I know it is a great industry, but you and I, we also hear the horror stories, and some of them are self-imposed. But to work for a CMA, I mean, man, that is like that. Your rest of your life, you're going to be there until you decide. You're going to at least go through 7 years, right?
Yeah, right. I don't plan to go. I mean, I've always been a forever place kind of person, but it's really had a strong set of values and just drive to where it was headed as a company that really aligned with kind of how I wanted to see automotive. I've worked at plenty of dealerships. I didn't move around a lot, but I worked at enough places. I've talked to enough people. Like you said, you just in the industry, you hear so much at other groups or other stores or other just outside the industry, even just the independents and stuff like that. And you just hear what's going on sometimes, and trying to align yourself and make sure you're on the right path with that, and having the company behind you with it just makes it that much easier.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of career paths and things like that, how is hiring going in the business right now? Do you think dealers are able to find the people that they need?
I think the dealers that are set up for it are doing the right things. We take kind of the model of, I think, what a lot of the groups are doing now, which is growing your own, especially in the shop world. Advisor still takes a unique position and person to be out there. That is a battle line tested just group of people that have to have the right mindset to work out there. But technician wise, we've definitely kind of grown into the mentor scheme and realized we're going to have to put some skin in the game. Unapplied time's okay right now. We need to see that, but we need to train up and build the next kind of group of technicians for the shops. And we got a good pipeline. All of the stores here, actually all the 24 stores of us, we're all pretty loaded up. We have a corporate recruiter who kind of just digs in deep and gets us applicants left and right. And it got to the point where we had to start turning people away, which was just heartbreaking.
Wow.
To think we're actually saying no because we had too many applicants or too many positions filled and just didn't have the room to grow. And, at the end of the day, we do try to keep it in a fair pace. So that way it doesn't take away from anybody else in the shop or anything like that. And, I'm not going to overflood my shops with people just because there's a number to hit at the end of the day. I want to see the guys that are in there kind of tackle those goal sets together and knock them out, which is ideally what we get to do and have been doing. So it's been fairly, I don't want to say simple, but it hasn't been as hard as it seems like. I think we've gone through some waves where you couldn't find some people and things just felt like it was a little dry, but the majority of the time we're hustling and looking consistently and constantly throughout the month as we go every month. So at some point it starts sticking, and that's kind of where we're at now. We got a full boat everywhere. And again, utilizing the schools and everything that we deal with is a big part of kind of where we draw our lure of selling the e-stop, selling the customer base, and selling the workness that we have here at CMA.
So you probably have a phenomenal onboarding process too, when you're actively, hiring people and stuff like that, because you want them to really buy into what it is that you're actually doing.
Yeah, and our HR department actually put their foot down with us. They stopped the quick hire situations. They made us do a mandatory 72 hours, unless there's some circumstances within it. But they want the time to set up everything right, get everything IT wise set up right, and then get us all the documentation, everything we need. So that way onboarding's a success. And then they've set up a follow-up process where they're actually following up directly behind us with the applicant when they come in and start working for us to make sure that they're taken care of as well and everything's being met for them. So they're not, a lot of times they're not even getting just the touch points from me. They're actually getting contacted back out from our HR group, making sure everything's going smooth for them too. It's a cool process. We've definitely been honing that in and working on it. It hasn't been perfect, but it's been leaps and bounds above what I've seen.
Yeah, when you select somebody, onboarding is really critical. Instead of saying, "Here's your pen, here's your desk, go to work," type thing. I mean, just so you have a culture of building people, leadership, processes, accountability, and systems in place to help ensure that you can go to the next level. I have seen it firsthand. Well, and a lot of it I heard from Glenn Lundy, but also seeing Liza and a lot of Scott Simon, he just retired, et cetera. Did he really retire? Anyway, I don't know. But anyway, and then people like you and many others that I see it at a lot of venues, where she's either speaking or a focal point, particularly being a female, and what she's accomplished is like a trendsetter type thing. So, and then growing people from inside. My first real exposure with that was with Ed Roberts at Bozard. I mean, it's phenomenal what they do, getting involved and plugged into the community. So well done there. Well done.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the qualities you look for when you're hiring new service staff?
Depending on the position, like I said, I think advisors take a little bit of a unique standpoint. I like to be upfront, especially if they're outside the industry. I really, really like, and I worked, a lot of my coming up when I was working, being younger, I worked automotive in the morning, I worked restaurant at night. So I always loved getting the restaurant people over because their customer service is by far easy, and it's a hectic world in the food industry just as much as it is in the automotive industry. It's probably the closest transition you could probably put together in two different completely businesses. But I like finding people that do that just because their people skills are there. They have good rapport, and they definitely kind of connect with people. They know how to build that one-on-one-ness when they're dealing with the customer. Technician wise, we understand what their technician is looking for. So the biggest part for us is the desire and drive to want to be here is a big one, that you're going to show up. And then we try to make sure that career path and goal sets are in place just to make it a straightforward process on where they're going to be and what they need to do in order to get where they're going. It's crazy because I think about the qualities of it. I want to say sometimes, and you guys have probably interviewed people all the time, sometimes I think it's just a gut feeling. You interview that person, they might have had a hard life, and you realize, they just need an opportunity and a chance, somebody to kind of stand behind them, and it works out. Others just have all the qualities on paper, and you just kind of get the right feeling about it when you're talking to them. So for us, I mean, I don't
So
think
true.
there's a set niche. I think it's all in the questions during the interview, letting them kind of discuss who they really are and what they want, and we utilize that afterwards to try to help move them forward more by after we get them in, as you said, getting the right candidate. We try to find out their 3 personal, 3 professional goals and utilize that to help drive them in their work and what they're doing, and stand behind them and give them support, because it's not all just about the dealership. It's about them outside of here too. So we try to do a little on both sides.
Oh. Well, what obstacles do you think the automotive industry is facing today? Do you think there's any, primary concerns that plague dealers at this time?
I think we still, at the end of the day, no matter how far we get away, and it's 2025 now, I still think we can't get out of the stigma of being a car dealership. A salesperson still has a bad rep. A service department still has a bad rep, no matter where you go or who you talk to. So I think the culture change is going to be in the generation below that we start to train and show them that it is a different focus point in coming to us. But yeah, I ultimately still feel like that's it, because I still hear the questions today as I'm here and working on the desk, and hear friends of friends talk about buying a car and not trusting the salesperson, and I took my car in for service and they're just trying to sell me snake oil and stuff like that. I still hear the conversations happen because for years they've just kind of been embedded through the generations. But also this younger generation, I think, is also changing our mindset on how we do customer service and what we're doing to accommodate those, and meeting the customer where they are versus the customer meeting us where we are. And it's a big change for us to understand that and identify that. And once we kind of marry the two together, I think we're going to see a big change across the board.
I think it's well said. I think it's a slow transition, maybe because I'm on this side of it, even though I was on the variable side for a long time. But it's a re-education. And what we've done is we've created a nightmare for ourselves that's going to take a while to turn that Titanic around. And that is of course, NADA says there's 16 independents that surround their franchise dealers. And they're not really even cheaper in a lot of cases, but customers think they are, right? So they still reign. So
there all the time. Yeah,
exactly. So I got to share this with you. This is a few months ago. I don't know the exact time, but I have a Genesis, and we don't have a standalone Genesis. And my local Hyundai store can't even service my Genesis. I have to go to a different one like 40 miles from here. So I scheduled an appointment for an oil change and a rotate. First thing in the morning. I was still 30 minutes early and 3 cars deep. So the advisor finally gets to me. Here's what he said. No, do you have an appointment? Are you freaking kidding me? How about hello, welcome back. My name is, and what's your name? I mean, nothing like that whatsoever. But we know those things are important today. You talk about the restaurant side and customer service and listening to the customer to understand their needs, not to respond, etc. But then we also have, video MPI or picture MPI, etc. So, you're rotating my wheels and tires and my rotors are scorched and my pads are 2 millimeter. That's a safety concern, right? So, and the customer surely knows something was different, but then you got the third component, and that's transparency and pricing and how that's actually delivered. So they don't feel like, well, I got to talk to my husband or I got to talk to my wife, when really they just think whatever, if they do it, it's going to cost them too much money. And you know what I mean? Those things are, and that's what alludes to things are starting to change. And I know you're a proponent of that as well.
Yeah, no, like you said, video has been huge. I don't want to say we fought it for the longest time. I had a group in the shop that were difficult to get on board with it. They just didn't understand it. Their viewpoint is, I'm doing the advisor's work. Why do I need to do the advisor's work? So taking them out of that and letting them understand that it's not an advisor position that you're taking away. You're not being anything different than you are. The only thing we're doing is giving the technician a voice directly to the customer and allowing them to showcase that they're a person in the bay. It's not a robot system that we're working on. And when we got them over that, and then we started delivering the videos and showing them the feedback we were getting, that was huge to see the turning point on that. And then the customers, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I actually sit in the service department here. I love this product that you do. And that's the video multi-point is the only one I've ever heard in the 25 years I've been doing this that I love this product that you do is actually verbiage that's coming from the customer to us when they're leaving and picking up their car or when we're reviewing the multi-points with them. So it is huge. And I think, like you said, that transparency is very big because there's no defining factor between it. It's not on paper. It's not a myth. It's your car. I'm showing it to you. It's plain as day.
Yeah.
We're here to help. What do you want to do today?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's pivotal. But like you said, it's going to be the generation up and coming that'll really start to hone and make sense. And you're not going to eliminate the independents, but they're already hurting, and they're going to hurt again in the future as time goes on because they just really can't compete. Plus, everything is in one database. Everything is in directly affects the value of your car, et cetera. Anyway, go ahead, Charity.
Let me guess. At this very moment, another vendor is walking up to your lot with something shiny to sell. Before you head back and hide in your office, let me take a minute to tell you about my friend Dawn Pelham and my friends over at Global Dealer Solutions. They exist to help you find solutions to problems, some of which you might not even know you have. Best of all, they can manage as many products and services as needed for you, helping cut down on multiple vendor visits and distractions. And if you need anything, you have one number to call or text for the response all dealers like to hear. On it, GDS understands that successful dealerships require more than a set it and forget it mentality. And they'll be with you every step of the way, from setup, implementation, training, and support. And if necessary, they'll even cancel non-performing products for you. No pushback, no arguments, just a solutioneer executing course corrections as needed. Check out gdsdealers.com to learn the difference and set up a time to meet. Let's see if they're a good fit for you.
Yeah, well, come to think, the independents have done really well with that marketing, at least that they're cheaper. Maybe not that they're higher quality, but that they're cheaper. So how, as dealers, are we going to overcome that stigma of, whatever it may be? We're too expensive, or it's, they're out of touch, or they're going to lie to me, whatever it may be. Do we have to physically meet every person that has ever sell them a car, get them through service? Do we have to go through that process, or what do you think it looks like?
Good question.
I definitely think it's a cultural change thing that we have to get them, because our part from the dealership level is to try to convince people that we're not. The independents already have the leg up on us. All they have to do is just keep reinforcing it. So they're fighting and reinforcing us that they already are cheaper and more available, I guess you want to say, because XYZ, we'll call it hours, we'll call it the time of day, the amount of appointments they can take, whatever it is, that they can put any focal point out there, because that perception was so instilled in people that it still stands there. So I guess that would be hard to say. You almost want to do it, from the sale. You want to try to get it from the sale. But the realization is, I think if everybody's speaking it constantly, if we have our advisors talking about it, we have the salespeople talking about it, not just at delivery, but during the process, it'd be kind of a full cycle thing. A lot of the, I guess, kind of corniness in it with those dare to compare situations where we kind of showcase and focalize on, here's our cost versus their cost kind of stuff. I don't think those actually work. I think people look right through those and see it's not true. But the perceived value is ultimately what we have to try to sell at the end of the day, because I don't think we can. It's going to be a while before we can get over the pricing or the convenience aspect of it. In most cases, we should be more convenient. I think we are more convenient. I think like Russ said, I think our pricing 99% of the time is way more convenient.
Yeah.
It's just getting the people to stay focused on the fact that they're there. So us having products and drivers to keep customers in our service lane is the biggest part of that. Once they defect and go somewhere else, that's where we kind of lost that battle already at that point.
Everything that my business partner and I see on this side, couple of points I want to make. His wife took their Toyota, was supposed to be going to the Toyota store to get an oil change and a rotate. Well, she didn't go. She went to Valvoline, independent, establishment, $99 for a full synthetic oil change. Came back home and he said, $99? it was $79.95 with a rotate, and you didn't even get a rotate. It's $20 cheaper at the dealership. That's why I wanted you to go to the dealership. But see, they think that way still. This is how it's even, somebody it's like, I know a big part of that transition, or I believe, and confirmation from you would be really helpful because you're on the front lines. I've seen this over the years, try to get into the tire game. And I believe you guys are into the tire game. It is so pivotal because that is the single largest purchase that consumers are going to make during the warranty period. If they're set up and they're already accustomed to coming to the store, because if they don't buy them from us, and we all get our from the same places, right? So they go to Firestone or Goodyear around the corner. It's like, what do you think they're telling them? We can do the fluid exchanges and the batteries and tires alignments and all that stuff. And it's like, we know today, you've probably already heard this, but if they buy a set of tires from you, 67% of those people continue to service with you and buy a newer pre-owned vehicle. That's critical. And the second critical point is we know oil changes. It's like, okay, synthetic, whatever, but they see a $29.95 oil change at Pep Boys, and you're advertising at $79.95. They don't know the difference between conventional, semi-synthetic, or full synthetic. When they get there, they're going to know. I don't know. Do you agree with those things?
I do wholeheartedly do. Like you said, the biggest ones being there is most people don't even know what our pricing is half the time. And I joke, I worked at a GM store, and I'll out myself on this a little bit, but one of my marketing things that I put out, and my advisors always laughed about it, is I would put out a coupon, which was my oil change and tire rotation price. That was not coupon. That was what we charged to do it. But people didn't know that.
No, they thought it was a coupon. They were saving.
Yeah, I would send it out to them to drive factors in, but the value of it was always a driver to get customers to come in. But again, nobody ever knew what our pricing was, and it was harder for them to figure that out. So when I put it in front of them, to them, they thought they were coming in and perceived value, which they were, because we were marketing directly at that value to get the customers to come in. But I didn't have to put a $20 offer, a $10 offer, or something like that. It was just a kind of a ploy to say, hey, here's an oil change tire rotation. And most people, like you said, they saw the coupon as he saw it, $79.95, and thought this is perfect. And it was able for them to go kind of right into what they needed.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, Robert, still think service directors I talk to, and it's like, no, I don't want to advertise any loss. No, it ought to be the same price it is for a customer driving in. But the fact that it's a special and offer a coupon, and what's associated with it is they're saving something. And so, but the level of service they get in exchange for that is like, it's okay to charge the regular price, Anyway, I totally agree. Well said. Well said.
Yeah. Well, Robert, name a problem that you've created a solution for and tell us how you did it.
Ooh.
That's going to be a fun one.
This is where preparation definitely.
Yeah. I actually don't like preparing people.
I want to say I love the email that said, just show up. That was good. Right? So a problem that we still have a solution for. I think for us, I think the biggest one here that we helped kind of set a solution for was obviously just getting video multi-point up and running. Getting the technicians to really kind of come together and realize that we put a little bit of pressure on them to classify what we needed to do with it. And I think in doing so, we turned around and gave the empowerment to them to focus and showcase that they could be the champions of it and get it done and not be forced by us on it. I think it seems a little kind of lackluster here, but I think that was probably the biggest part of what I could say is that part of it. I don't think I'm all that innovative and created anything crazy or outdone anybody differently.
Well, you just said something I thought was really pivotal, because I hear a lot of people talking about the video MPIs. And first of all, it's change, and everybody's conscious of how they are on video, how they're talking, maybe how they're looking. But you said empower your people. You wanted them to do this, but you allowed them the transition time to actually do it themselves, where they could see what is actually the end result of that is happier customers, more money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's pretty, because what I hear, some people just force it down their throat. You have to do this. There's no option. Well, they fight even harder. They're so, yeah.
I was going to say, I removed one barrier, which, and some people may say is controversial, and I've talked to some people on it, and I know they're against it, and some are, and some aren't. But I took it on the chin and said, look, I'm not even going to, you don't even have to have your video audited. I'm going to allow you to make the video and send it directly to the customer. So there is a no ploy situation where our technicians have any fear, because again, we know it's in the industry and it's happened. So the fear is there that the advisor doesn't present the work is a fear that technicians kind of bring up. So we've taken that and said, look, on top of you guys, you're going to champion this, but not only that we trust you in that empowerment of it as well. So when you make your video and hit send, it goes right to the customer. There's no pre-screening of it. The entrustment is there that they're doing the right thing by the company. Now I can go back in obviously and watch them, and I can't say I've had any issues or problems. We've had some coaching on how to do a better video in some cases, but the majority of the time it's self-made, it's self-delivered. And by the time we get to the customer with the estimate, they're already sometimes coming to us or calling us and asking us what we're doing. Because we do ask them. The only thing it does is it matches up with when the multi-point's completed. So that way we don't look too far off as a whole, as a team kind of working against each other. But I think that was big in them because they got the understanding that it is about them and what they're delivering. Their part of it does mean something. It's not just the box that we're checking, because the videos are being created and they're being sent out, and it's sent directly to the customer without any buffers.
Well, I would say that's pretty innovative because a lot of people monitor every one of those videos initially. So first of all, I got to do this thing that I don't really understand, and it's foreign, so it's way outside of their comfort zone. And then I'm going to be watching them on top of it. That's like a double whammy. Okay. And then it's like, okay, listen, do you guys like working for Robert? You like working for Big? Oh yeah, we love it. Well, if you don't do, you can do it or not do it. But if you don't do it, they're going to fire me and somebody else is going to get here and they're going to force you to do it. So you might as well just go ahead and get comfortable and do it. Right.
Be fired, didn't I?
I love it. I love it. Anyway, go ahead. That's Charity.
Well, I noticed you were a keynote speaker in the past. And I want to ask you, if you were to create a keynote session today, what topic would you choose and why?
Great question.
I'm gonna say that's actually a good follow-up to the question you just asked. I think because I think mine would actually be in the resolving aspect of empowerment of your staff. I think that's huge. Allowing them to be the focal point of it is always the thing. I can't say I was necessarily taught 100% this process, but I was always taught to praise them for the good, and all the bad is taken by me. So, anything bad that happens is my fault. I messed up. It's not a we situation, but when the team wins or somebody wins, it's them or they. It's never an I situation. So, empowering your team, I think, is huge in that, and I feel it definitely gets you a different employee out of that base too, because they're going to want to do more when you're entrusting them for it, and it's more of a guidance situation. I like to sit in that mentor role more, I think, than I do as the manager or the boss role, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, because I want to see them succeed. I don't want anybody to not do better than me. And every time I sit with them, every time I talk to any of my staff, it's always you have to do well. When you do well, then I do well, because that's the only way I do well in my position is by you guys all delivering and doing what you're doing. So I would have to say that would be my biggest thing, is kind of, taking your positions, taking your staff, coaching and mentoring and empowering them to make those decisions in favor of the way you would want them to do it and want to see it done.
Yeah, not a lot of people do that. More and more are starting to. In some of the rooms we're in, we have people on the cutting edge, which is why you and I listen and participate in those rooms to learn. But empowering your people is really, really huge. And training is one thing, coaching and mentoring, those are the words you used. I love it. If they win and they feel appreciated and they're a part of something, and somebody else not just trying to take credit for it, you're going to build lifetime people.
Yeah, that was a really great answer. I wasn't sure
really
where you're going to go with it. So, and back to NADA, you attended this year, I presume.
I did get to attend this year.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you some feedback on it. I know it was a little wild this year. How was the turnout, the enthusiasm, the energy? How did it compare to past years?
Sure. So, I mean, first I got to say big thank you to CMA. I got to go this year and last year based off of kind of my work ethic. I was pulled aside and invited to go because of the work I was doing within the stores. It's odd for, I don't want to say it's odd. I think most auto groups don't send a fixed operations person out to the events. Usually it's the dealer principals, the owners, GMs, maybe some GSMs and stuff like that, or marketing teams, or whatever the groups have. So to see us out there was huge. Actually seeing a lot of fellow members from the other groups were all in Rust actually out there as well, who were in same positions. It was great to see the culture change there is in what NADA is doing as well, because we're starting to see a focus obviously on fixed operation being a big part, not variable being the big front. And now you're starting to see us starting to attend those events and showing up there. We must have had the luckiest trip possible. I had an 18-minute tarmac delay and hit New Orleans like it meant nothing.
Those are the stories that I heard.
I know. The stories were rough. I think we had the longest time we had was getting from the airport to the hotel. But seeing the city streets shut down and the highways closed as we're driving through was just unreal to see. And then by the time we left, it was completely melted and they were starting to get their kind of their feet and legs back underneath them. But
that was a 100-year storm.
We're crazy.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. But the group of people that showed up, like everybody was there, everybody was honed in, everybody was listening. It definitely didn't feel in any way like it was made to be a shortcoming by anybody who made it out there. And a lot of us had to push it into 48 hours, 24 hours.
True.
And what we kind of got in getting out there. But hearing the vendors was incredible. Some of the feats they went through to get there. And then even sitting in on the manufacturer meetings and the manufacturers showing up and just saying how important it was to get there, to be there for us and see us face to face for the people that showed up, and not do it virtual, not cancel the meeting or do anything like that was pretty wild to kind of hear them stand up in that regard. Because at the end of the day, I mean, they don't have to attend; they choose to attend. If you think about it, and it was pretty wild just to see that. But the venues were great. The parties that were orchestrated were still kind of held and put off pretty well. It was nice to kind of see as many people as I could in person for the first time, and which was that's been the coolest part. I think Russ, we've probably known each other online now for the last 2.5 years, and meeting you last year in person was like, hey, you just feel like you know people. It's so personal when you're on these groups and these interactions. When you get out there, it's just cool to actually put it like to a physical touch situation. But
I don't know why I'm thinking we've been connected for like 4 years now.
It may have been longer.
In some way, time just flies. It's amazing how all of this is. Never knew we would be where we're at today because of that pandemic, that COVID, whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of phenomenal stuff that's happened as a result of that, with technology and people and culture, and it's great. It's great. And it was a real pleasure.
I would say the biggest thing I learned during that whole process was how fast we could actually pivot and change and create a whole new model.
Yeah, we're automotive, baby. We can do it. We rise to the occasion.
How many dealers did not want to sell cars online, sold cars online within 30 days?
Yeah, look what happened.
They figured out exactly how to do it.
Were you guys CDK when the CDK bought? Okay, but even people then rose to the occasion and reinvented themselves and still can. I remember we got a handwritten check when we normally don't get that, just because the payroll system was down. Anyway, it's amazing how resilient this industry and the people in this industry. If we had a nuclear fallout, the first businesses back up and running are going to be automotive. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
I don't want to say we're cockroaches, but it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. As soon as it goes down, we scatter and then we regroup and we rebuild. So it's pretty wild.
It is.
Well, what hasn't changed in automotive lately that you think should change?
Oh, that's a great question.
I think one of the obvious ones, what we're doing for customer exposure is a big one, but I think us finally actually taking the steps across the scale in a larger position than we do now, getting into the pickup and delivery mobile game, I think is where we're still just, again, it's like everything we did for automotive variable side selling cars online. Like we knew it was there. We knew we had to do it. We're just taking the smallest steps possible to get there because we don't want to change. But at the same time, I think that's where we really need to pivot and change and see how it's going to be different. The four walls can be here. I mean, we'll still need four walls no matter what for a shop, for sales, in some aspect, some way, in order to help a consumer base. But I think it's ultimately changing to the greater side of what we're doing to just meet the customer, figure out the best way to get there and do it.
Do you do mobile?
We are working on it now. That was actually my biggest insight from NADA, to try to get as much information on that as possible. So talking to any of the vendors that were out there, I got to actually meet up with Jeremy Stevens, who works with Roberts and runs his mobile division. And,
I think they got 49 trucks now or something like that. Dude, yeah.
He's got a huge fleet. I sat through the program for everybody who's doing fleet, and the realization is it's not that hard. It's the same business model. You just have to have the people for it, put them in place, have the product that we have available, and then just go out there and sell it like we do everything else. But it's on us. It's not on the consumer at this point in time. It's 100% on us to make it happen and do it.
It's part of your future, though, isn't it?
It's got to be.
Yeah,
It's got to be.
Good.
Yeah, that would probably solve a lot of the customer inconvenience issues that we run into. Excuse me. My next question for you is, what is the MIGS takeover?
Yeah, what is the MIGS takeover?
That is exactly what it means. Now, going through here, get mentored. A lot of the biggest things that happened to me was I got real heavy into social media. Catchphrase, hashtags, things like that were just part of it. And I was picking words for the year, and I had synergy as one of mine. And it was just kind of growing and grouping the whole store and the group together as one. And then I realized at the end of the day, I'm on a mission to kind of get myself out there and really showcase what automotive has done. And it was just that. I mean, like I said, a lot of people can't say our last name, so we've just become MIGS over the years, and every single one of us. So the MIGS takeover is just me hitting everywhere. I'm trying to put myself in any forefront that I can get in front of. It doesn't matter what it is. I just want to be out there and sharing this back to the world is kind of me. So
you can tell
whether it benefits me or not at the end of the day, I don't know about that, but I'm trying to put it all back in there for some good karma, because again, the automotive industry is taking care of me very well. I just want to give back at this point.
Well, you're doing it, and it's a karma thing, and you're impacting people's lives. I mean, I hear your name all the time. I see you all the time on LinkedIn or Facebook, or Robert. You're everywhere, man. But you're not doing it for you. It's a message. What this business has done for you and your family. Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Big time, 100%.
Yeah. Well, it certainly got my attention. And I see you all the time. I'm in LinkedIn all the time doing our own social media here. And there he is again. Oh, there he is again. And it's about time we've had you on the show.
Yeah, I just learned through the power of consistency, it'll do stuff. And that's everything. I think Rush, you went on your AI bit on that, just consistently kind of growing that a little bit each day. That 1% every day gets you, that much further than everybody else in there. And that's just it. I mean, it doesn't take much. I mean, it's simple posts. I'm not even doing anything fancy or crazy at this point. I definitely got to do better. I got to get into video. I got to do some other things and really kind of expand where I'm at. But I think consistency is there, and it definitely helps shed. And, I grew into groups and communities that I never had or thought I was going to be a part of. And
now you are.
It's been cool.
So just like your advisors and the video MPI, what you're doing that's so different from a lot of people is you're not talking about it, you're doing it. Now I hear a lot of people I'm going to start a pot. Look, you don't know how, you can't possibly know what to do if you haven't ever done anything before. You just get started. And you evolve and you get it. I mean, we've come so far in 4 years. I mean, I just Thank God for Charity and Patrick. But that's the message out there. You're getting it out there, and what you're doing is resonating, and it's working. And you figure out things along the way, like the AI thing. I don't know anything about AI, but I try to learn something every single day. But I still, when I think about it, it's mind-boggling. I still get confused, but I know it's part of our future.
100% it is. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
AI is fantastic. I noticed that we have about 10 minutes. So
I actually don't even have that, unfortunately.
Oh, you know, okay. How many questions do you have? Russell? 2?
Yeah. So go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to skip around a little bit. I'm going to choose one. So I'm quoting you saying every struggle is a reward. And I wanted to hear you elaborate on that as to what it means to you.
So I've that's kind of a dedication to my life. I think I've always come up. Our family was not the most well off. We definitely had means. We weren't poor, but we didn't have a lot. So for me, that was just kind of every struggle. I jokingly laugh that I've taken the longest road possible to get to where I'm going all the time. And, you always see people, it kind of looks like the door opened for them the second they stood up. And whether or not skill sets were there for people, it seemed like I always had a tough road in my own mental head of kind of where I was. So for me, it was just never taking any of that in a bad situation, just learning from everything. Whatever that struggle was, whatever it had to be, it was there for a purpose and a reason. And what am I going to get out of it? How do I grow from it? And what can I do to use this in the future? Is kind of what I was doing with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it does appear sometimes. I know now from all my years living that when it looks like somebody just, damn, they're in the right place at the right time and they're just lucky. No. What I didn't know is the 20 years they spent before that, where everybody sees that moment, but they don't know what happened. Failure after failure after, tenacity and grit and plowing forward. And I have an acronym for FAIL, and that's just the first attempt in learning. The thing is, you keep getting back up over and over, and you learn something from it, so you don't repeat those things over and over again. Unfortunately, I had to repeat a lot of those things over and over again before I actually got it. And I think if most people are honest, they maybe the same thing happens to them. I don't know, but anyway, yeah.
Well, so the last one I'll toss to you, Robert, is how does what we do today affect and influence what happens tomorrow?
I think ultimately, if we're going to put some positive out into the world and change the culture of the automotive industry, it comes from the leaders that are out there now doing it. We need to set the tone that it's more than just a business. It's people over cars. I forget the Asoto analogy there that they have all the time on what they kind of put out there, but it's coming down to us. We need to make a change. We need to show that there's a change, and we have to actually show it. We can't just say that we're doing it. And I think that's kind of our biggest focus of where we can kind of go move forward right now, especially with this industry. We're innovative. We're creative. Let's actually change and get away from the stigmas that have been kind of around our bubble for so long.
Well, it takes people like us to actually get that message out there, and it's a slow turn, but it is happening. I see it, I sense it, I feel it with people like you in the business and where you want to go. So, but thank you very much for coming on our show today. We are humbled and honored, and all of you out there when this releases, because Robert Migliaccio, Migs, he's going to be everywhere out there. So, like him, comment, reach out to him if you have any questions. And I'm sure a lot of the stuff you heard today will resonate with you as well. Family and growth and success and what that looks like to you is all bundled up into this podcast with Migs today. Thank you so much for another successful WTF. What the FixedOPS to all of you out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.